Good afternoon. My name is Sisi Ravere and welcome to another webinar proudly brought to you by Standard Bank. Now, this week promises to be a treat to all the fashionistas and divas out there as we speak to fashion creator David Tlale as he takes us through his rise to fame. David Tlale, welcome.
Thank you.
Isn't that too much?
That is like...
Direct translation, you missed it.
Please, no. Can we just keep it simple? David, how are you doing?
Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you very much.
Now, you've gone from student designer to one of the most respected designers in South Africa. Take us through that journey and feel free to name drop along the way some of the people you've had the privilege of dressing.
Wow, my journey has been like, I think I've been super blessed to be doing what I'm doing and to see the brand growing. To become an intentional brand. I mean, it all started out the day when I decided to quit auditing. I bless that day.
You were an auditor?
I was starting to become an auditor.
Wow.
So that is like the best day in my entire life or in my entire career, because if I never made that decision, I wouldn't be where I'm at and sitting with you today. And everything else just falls in as part of the journey. When 1993 came to go study fashion at the Vaal University of Technology, that's when the dream started. And then I graduated in 98. And I mean, there's been like loads and loads of awards along the way. I mean, from my second year, third year, and my fourth year. And then I lectured fashion for 4.5 years part-time. And 2003, I entered for the Elle New Talent at Southern Fashion Week. That's when I launched David Tlale, the brand. And 2005, I worked for House of Monatic as head designer for Kaduchi Woman.
Wow.
I did that for like 2.5 years. In 2007, I was nominated as one of the 4 designers to showcase at Paris Fashion Week. With African Fashion International Chairperson Dr. Precious Moloi Mutsepe. And along the journey, I got to be blessed to dress the likes of Yolanda Adams when she was in the country. I've dressed, in 2008, I've dressed Jordan Dunn, international supermodel. Wow, and in 2009, I won the Africa Fashion Designer of the Year amongst the whole continent. And then I got to showcase at New York Fashion Week, worked with like supermodels like Chanel Iman, Ajak, Freya, Niragon. I mean,
my jaw's dropping.
Okay, let me just chop it up for you. How about working very, very closely with a supermodel, male model? Guess?
No, I know. I know exactly.
Do you want to die?
Yes, it's fine. I'll have my moment. Does it start with a T?
Yes.
Okay.
Tyson Beckford. Yeah, chill. He's on your mouth. Yeah, and I did that. And last year, March, I went to do a presentation also at Paris Fashion Week. Yes. And then I met the likes of Didier, who is the chief, the chairperson of Paris Fashion Week. And yeah, and it's been a beautiful, beautiful journey. I think God has been like super amazing and really gracious to us.
My goodness, David, what an illustrious career. That's all I'm going to say. What is it about David Tlale designs and clothing that attracts and connects South African people to it?
I think it's really appreciating what we have as South Africa, and also not giving it to people in a vulgar way to say, I know that I'm from South Africa, I'm going to give you animal print. It's appreciating the beautiful resources that we have, the beautiful landscapes, using our minerals, using beautiful color in our different cultures and diversity, not in a so expected way, but you know, taking it on a global stage to say, yes, I am from Africa, but I am aware of what's happening around us, because our principle is that our garments, as David Tlale, the brand, it's got to be appealing globally, whether it's made in Milan, Johannesburg, Cape Town, it doesn't matter. It's a product. It's a beautiful blouse made in South Africa by David Tlale.
With a global signature.
That's the whole point.
I like that. Now, your designs, you have a fan base that crosses borders, and I would think that one of the biggest challenges is the fact that you compete against major fashion brands.
Yeah.
How have you managed to keep your head afloat in an industry which we know is cutthroat. And then you also have to compete with international fashion houses.
I think what we do as a brand is that we benchmark ourselves with like big brands, like your Armanis, your Dior's, Givenchy, because that's where we want to be ultimately. And only understand part of the game that this is only work. It does not make me to become a better person, but you always want to become better at your game and also outdo yourself in your own game as well. I think that's what really pushes us and also want us to push the boundaries all the time. And more than anything else is just to understand that today you're big, tomorrow you're out. There's a new designer coming. So my point exactly. So it's also just appreciating the little things that come your way, and also really understanding that really above everything else there's a huge force that is orchestrating what we do as human beings, which is God.
He's at work.
Yes.
Now, 2 years ago, you were privileged enough to showcase at the Mercedes-Benz New York Fashion Week.
Yeah.
How did that change the David Tlale brand? How did it impact you as a person, as a designer, and the company as a whole?
What it did, it just changed my perception to see David Tlale, the brand, through the eyes of the world, or as an intentional brand, because for the fact that we showcased at New York Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, at that particular moment, the brand has already elevated 10 times. Like, you know what, we are international. For the fact that we've been showcased on International Vogue, our websites, and daily. It's those things just changes your perceptions. In fact, you're no longer just a South African designer, now you're a global designer. There's people that are following you, people who are visiting your website almost every day. I remember when we were going to New York, our website has never been visited so much. It came back just like mountain higher. Our social media networks has like grown immensely. I mean, as we're talking right now, I'm sure we've got people watching out in Angola, out in Tanzania, because we talk about these things on social media and people are like, okay, fine, let's see, and are rooting for it. But more than anything else is what we learned from New York was to take fashion as a business, because it goes beyond just being fabulous on the runway. At the end of the day, it's got to translate into cash. It's got to translate into investment, coming from our country, investing in global stages and everything else. So at the end of the day, you just sort of like push yourself to say, I'm a business person, you know, and the fabulous fashion designer takes like sort of a back step, because after you've taken that bow, it's to say, how many sales have you made? How many orders have you taken in? And going into production, how much budget do you need? You know, at the end of the day, it must come back to saying we are running a business more than just a fabulous career.
I love that. Remember, guys, understanding that fashion is a business, so you need to run it like one. It's not just about the nice clothes.
It's not, because you can dress up every day, but with no money coming in or going out, there's no point of doing this. Okay,
now you can be a fashionable person, but it doesn't mean you're a designer. No. Is it something that you're naturally born with? Is it a skill? How does a young person get into the game?
It varies from time to time. Yes, we are all creative, we are all talented, but it all starts, you have to get educated. You've got to go get the basics of design. You've got to get the basics of fashion. Fashion is not about just putting rags together and saying that's a collection. You've got to understand pattern making. You've got to understand fabrications. You've got to understand how fabrics behave. You've got to understand, if you use silk chiffon, what kind of needle you've got to use, what thread you've got to use, what temperature of the iron should be.
Wow!
It's very complicated. It's not what people see on the runway and people be like, oh my God, beautiful. It's not about that. There's a lot of technicalities. You've got to understand balance. You've got to understand proportion. You've got to understand color. And from there, you've got to really understand that fashion it's something that goes on. It comes and it goes. You've got to understand the history of fashion. You've got to understand the current status quo that we are at right now. You know, psychologically, we become so much influenced about what's happening around us. Thus, history has a very big role that plays into fashion, politics, economy. So there's much more that goes into fashion more than just putting it there. So it's very important. Be educated, understand, work with all your heart, and you know you've got to put everything out there and then make sure that you you grab everything from tertiary. By the time you try to launch your brand, then you've got all the background that you need.
Wow, thank you so much, David. Now, all this enlightenment, like I'm enlightened. My eyes are just like, really? All of that? Eyes? Needles? Our chat room is buzzing, so we're going to take some questions and see what the people have to say.
Okay, great.
All right, so lots of comments, people saying, I so need to be dressed by David. All right, we've got one from M. Harbison asking, hi, David, are you involved in any CSI projects currently?
Yeah, we do quite a lot of CSI projects, but it varies from season to season. Sometimes we're like very busy as a design house. We can accommodate CSI's projects. I've got a lot of interns. I work a lot with interns in my studio. People who are already studying fashion. Some people say, "Oh, I want to become a designer." My advice to you is that at least enroll in a fashion school and then come and learn from us, because the genre is very different, and I cannot be teaching you what a styling is, what fusing is, you've got to, yes, for like 2 hours you can come and see what you do, but don't say you want to come for a week and learn from us. We appreciate people are already in the fashion school, but the process is very intense. You're like coming for an interview for a job. You have to present your portfolio, your vision, and everything else, and also your grades must be good, because we don't want to work with like people who are not passionate or very committed.
Please understand what fusing is, Nick, before you go to All right, we've got a question from Black Fox. That collection on the Nelson Mandela Bridge was awesome.
Thank you.
How are you preparing for the New York Fashion Week taking place in September 2011, and how long have you been involved with the show? What type of opportunities will the fashion show create for you on this platform?
Oh, wow.
the mouthful. Thank you, Black Fox.
I know. I'm surprised that you know that we're going to be showcasing at New York Fashion Week. It's an excruciating process, because before we even showcase, we gotta build presence in New York Fashion Week. Number one is to have a PR agent that is working on on the collection, and also an agent that is going to make sure that we have boutiques that are going to boutique owners that are going to come and see the collection. And also it's got to be relevant. It's got to represent South Africa, not just by print or color or anything, but it's got to represent South Africa for what we are at the state that we are at right now, and also set trends for the young upcoming New York designers or other global budding designers and everything else. And also try to say there's new blood, there's new breed that is coming into the international stages. So there's a lot of attention, there's a lot of hard work that is going to be put into this collection.
Man, time flies. Thank you so much, David. Folks, that's all we have time for. I have to wrap it up. David, thank you so much for joining us. I am truly enlightened and respect the fashion industry so much more.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And good luck with September New York Fashion Week. And everything else in between.
Thank you very much.
You guys make sure you join us on Friday, 8th April for another web show when we'll be speaking to entrepreneur and walking brand Mandla Sibeko. Remember that you can catch a recap of the show next week by visiting the Student Achiever website. You can also keep updated by following us on Twitter and Facebook.